April 3rd, he came into Memphis. The speech we know as the mountaintop speech almost didn't take place. There were tornado warnings that night. It was thundering and lightning and raining. And he thought there wouldn't be many people at the church. So he sent several of us over to the church. So you guys go over and have the meeting, and I'll go work on the Poor People's Campaign. When we got to the church, it was nearly full in spite of the weather. Abernathy walked in, Jesse Jackson walked in, I walked in, Andy Young walked in, and the people started clapping. Abernathy said, these people ain't clapping for us, they think Martin coming in behind us. And he went to the phone and called Martin. If he had not made that phone call, there would have been no mountaintop speech. And Abernathy introduced him that night fully for 20 minutes. And nobody said a word. Now, in our tradition, we know how to get the introducer out of the way. Amen, brother. Amen, amen, amen. That means get out the way so the real speaker can get on. You are not the speaker. Nobody said a word. Martin talked about death more than I heard him talk about it. Talked about the plane that he rode over in from Atlanta had been under guard all night long because so many death threats had come to him. Talked about the time he was autographing books in New York. A demented black woman came up to him and said, "Are you Martin Luther King Jr.?" He said, "Yes." She reached over the table. He was signing books. He didn't even look up. She reached over the table and plunged a letter opener into his chest. And when he was recovering, he said he got greetings from all over the world, but he does not remember what they said. He does remember a teenage girl writing, "Dear Dr. King, I read about your misfortune, and I'm so sorry." The New York Times said the blade of the letter opener was so close to your aorta that if you had sneezed, you would have drowned in your own blood. And she put at the bottom, "I'm so glad you didn't sneeze." And he picked up on that and did a whole litany. And I'm glad I didn't sneeze. If I'd sneezed, I would have missed the Selma to Montgomery March. If I'd sneezed, I would have missed the young people sitting in all over the nation for their rights. If I had sneezed, I would have missed a chance to tell America and the world about a dream I had one August day in Washington, D.C. He just went on about what he missed that he sneezed. By that time, we were on our feet, we were crying, we didn't know why we were crying. We had no way of knowing that would be the last speech of his life. He said, "I may not get there with you, but you'll get to the promised land." And friends, I'm so certain he knew he wouldn't get there, but he wouldn't tell us straight up, "I won't get there." Can you imagine what we would have felt had he said, "I won't get there"? So he softened it for us and said, "I may not," knowing full well that he would not. But God has allowed me to go to the mountaintop, and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. May not get there with you, but you'll get there. And we were crying, and he was overcome. We had to help him to his seat. But by the next day, he was all right. Dinner was to be served at my home. I told him dinner was at 5 o'clock. It is as if, reverends, that he preached himself through the fear of death. He got it out of him. I told him dinner was at 5 o'clock. And he'd laid that burden down, and he was just jovial, loved a good joke, and he called the house, and they told him dinner was at 6. So when I got there at 5, he said, "Oh no, dinner's not till 6, and I'm in no hurry, have a seat." I took a seat, but I told him 5 because he was never in a hurry. 3 preachers in a room, Abernathy, King, and Kyles. Of the 3, I am the only one left. And the world has asked, what did 3 preachers do in a room for an hour? I said, we talk preacher talk. They say, what's preacher talk? I said, whatever preachers talk about is preacher talk. Lighthearted stuff. I bought another house. He said, do you buy a new house? I said, yeah. He said, well, don't be like that preacher in Atlanta. He bought a new house, invited Coretta now to dinner. Got to the house, it was a beautiful house. It really was. Got inside, he didn't have a stick of furniture. We had to eat dinner on a card table. Kool-Aid was hot, the ham was cold, the biscuits were hard. He beat that. He said, if I go to your house, see that you bought a house and can't buy food, I'm going to call ABC, NBC, CBS, and say the Reverend 20Kyles bought a new house, but he can't buy furniture. Take up an offering for him, something like that. Just lighthearted, just lighthearted. About 5:45, we walked out on the balcony. Martin Luther King was here and I was here. Abernathy was still in the room shaving. He saw Jesse Jackson. He said, Jesse, you're not dressed for dinner. Jesse said, Doc, I don't need a shirt and tie. I got an appetite. That's all I need. Lighthearted stuff. And then he said, I want you to meet the band leader. He's from Chicago, but he grew up in Memphis. So they started walking towards the balcony, Jesse Jackson and Ben Branch. They started walking towards the balcony. Martin was leaning over the balcony, railing, talking to Ben and Jesse. I said, guys, come on. We have a rally after dinner. We got to go. I turned to go down the stairs. I got 2 or 3 steps. Kapow! The shot rang out. I looked back. He had been knocked from the railing back onto the floor. I rushed to his side. There was a gaping hole in the right side of his face. There was a bigger wound under his shirt I could not see, but there was so much blood. The bullet's called a dum-dum. As it goes through the barrel of the gun, it heats up. It doesn't come out straight. It comes out jagged, so it tore all of his chest out. I could not believe what I was seeing. Blood was everywhere. I ran in the room to call an ambulance. You had to use the operator to use the phone. When she heard the shot, she left the switchboard, came out into the courtyard, looked up and saw what had happened. Immediately, she had a heart attack. I was beating on the wall saying, answer the phone, answer the phone. I ran back outside. The police were coming. I hollered to them, call an ambulance on your police radio. Dr. King has been shot. They said, where did the shot come from? So that's where the pointing comes in. Where did the shot come from? I took a spread from one of the beds and covered him from his neck down. He never spoke a word. Finally, the police blocked the stairs so people couldn't come up. The ambulance came and I told them what hospital to take him to, and they did. And we waited. I got somebody on the phone. I had Jesse to call Mrs. King, and I called my home. And we waited. And we waited. Finally, they never said that Martin Luther King died. They said, we lost him. We lost him. I had no words 40 years ago to express how I felt. I have no words 40 years later to express how I felt. I was doing what needed to be done, but I was doing it perfunctorily. And here we were, listening to them to say that we lost him. And friends, I must tell you, I wondered for so many, I don't even know how many years, why was I there? Why was I at that moment in time and that moment in history? Why was I there? And God, over the years, revealed to me why I was there. Crucifixions have to have witnesses. And I was there to be a witness. And I must be an honest witness, because a lying witness is dangerous. A witness who has information and won't share it is of no consequence. And so my witness must be true. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't die in some foolish, untoward way. He didn't overdose. He wasn't shot by a jealous lover. He wasn't shot leaving the scene of a crime. Here's a man with an earned PhD degree at 28, a Nobel Peace Prize at 34, at that time the youngest to ever get one. All the things he could have been: UN ambassador, mega churches all over America and the world, university president, all the things he could have been with those skills. But here he is, dying on a balcony in Memphis, Tennessee, helping garbage workers. And they said, we will shoot this dreamer. and see what happens to his dream. The witness comes in again there and will tell all who will listen, sadly I tell you, yes, you can kill the dreamer. But I hurriedly tell you, no, you cannot kill the dream. The dream is still alive. The dream is still alive. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.